Hello, my beautiful friends. This is a Time to Care the Caregivers podcast. I'm Isabel Melgarejo, your host. And today I have an amazing, wonderful woman, Susie Singer Carter. She is an, uh, an elder care advocate, an actress, a producer, a screenwriter, and all of the things. Welcome, Susie.
Thank you. Thank you, Isabel. Well, I'm happy to be here.
I always have so much fun with you. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became an advocate?
Well, I think I've got to get adjusted in my seat here. I've got a chair that makes me too short. And so now I sit on a pillow, but it's not comfortable. I just have too much information I know, but let's just, get cozy and personal, because that's what caregiving is about anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's about being personal and getting rid of all the facades and all those filters that we put up, those social filters, and we get real. So, well, okay.
Yes.
So I think I am an unwitting elder care advocate. It's not something that I grew, when I was a little girl saying I'm going to grow up advocate for elders because that doesn't sound fun, right? But
Wasn't
I
that
am,
the number one thing that kids wanted to do when you were in school?
yeah, well, they're, elder care Barbie, hello, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, elder care Barbie and ER Ken. It's like the pit. Where do you think the pit came from? So yeah, Noah Wiley thinks he's all original, but it really came from Ken. I'm just saying, at least in my playtime world. Um, so I was no, I'm a filmmaker and I started off in children's programming and then went into feature films and I actually wrote Bratz the movie, which was my first film, and then went and co-produced Soul Surfer, which is a lovely film, and did a lot of development and just loved that. Started as an actress as well, and then when my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, uh, which lasted for 16 years. So it was a long journey. And
Yes.
it really diverts you. It takes you off the path that you thought you were supposed to be on because there's really no other way to go but to lean into to a disease like that. That's what I found out. If you love somebody, and my mom and I were super close, and she was just one of my favorite people. And I didn't know anything about Alzheimer's. I'm pretty sure 100% of people whose loved one gets that awful diagnosis. You've heard of it. You might have seen somebody, a distant relative or someone's relative that had it, and you have all these stereotypes in your mind and all kinds of
Yes.
things, right?
And
Yeah,
then
and
it
all
turns
kinds of
out
things
to
can
be something completely different.
completely different, um, and we've because all the ageism that surrounds our society and uh, our sort of individualistic culture that we've developed into, and we've siloed different age groups. I have two daughters who are now grown, but it's like I would say with more with my second daughter. My first daughter and I were closer in age, so we had more fun together in terms of like. But my second daughter was it, even it was a lot of like you know you do you with your friends and I'll do me with my friends. But I was never that way with my mom. It was always like, oh, I'm having a huge party, mom. What time are you going to be there? Like I just included my mom and my stepdad in everything because I just didn't. I'm not saying I'm better. I just didn't see age. Age didn't bother me. Wasn't a deterrent for me. I just thought that everybody brought a lot to the table, right? At all ages. So, but it is a trend, and I've noticed it, especially with my second daughter's Jen, and I feel like it's getting worse and worse where we've othered elders to the point that brings me to my documentary that I've that I just released, which is No Country for Old People, I don't believe that this crisis in our nursing home society, I mean, nursing home system, would have ever have happened had we not. It was the perfect storm. Not that it happened just recently. It's been 50 years, but
Yes.
it's been 50 years. But I think that it's only poised to get worse because of the way that we view people with disabilities like Alzheimer's, like dementia, which is a disability. It doesn't mean the person is not there. They're not they're not they're not just a shell. They are a human being that continues to live, that continues to have uh, an experience, a life. And so, but I don't know. You said yes. You were shaking your head about we have stereotypes in our own minds when we hear about
Yes.
think of Alzheimer's. Like, what was yours? What was your first thought before you knew anything about it? What did you think about it?
I think I was protected from it because my great grandma, that has never been told to me that she had some kind of dementia. But again, if you go to my story, then, and I always say this all the time, I was protected from the outside world and problems didn't exist in my family. And that was one of the problems that didn't exist in my family, even though she was bedridden.
Okay.
And they had to put, so she moved to my grandma's house and they had to put these, um, like it was some kind of cage at the entrance of her house so she could go out of the house,
Not get
but
lost.
yes. So um
But nothing's wrong.
nothing's wrong, she's bedridden, so that was first, and then she was bedridden for 5 years, but uh, like that was harder to say there's nothing wrong, but it was just like, okay, she's a little bit sick.
Right.
She's
There, yeah,
she has a mild cold.
yeah. It's because it's a stigma, and because it mirrors, senility, the word senility, like they're senile, and senile. It's like one professional in my mom's journey. When my mom was bedridden, and they called her demented, and I take umbrage to it. I don't like that word demented. I know it's part of dementia, but demented carries a lot of negativity to it. Demented is like
Yes.
somebody who is like evil, who has
Hmm.
no right. They're like a sociopath. They're demented, and
Yeah.
they're not demented. They have issues. They're cognitive. They're having a cognitive decline, but that doesn't make them demented in my in and I think we have to be very careful. We do have to be careful with the way that we describe the names that we use, right? I think there's all, eh, with any section of our population, whether if we're talking about diversity or we're talking about disability, it's very important how we define it and
Hmm.
how we frame it, because this is the reason why we have ableism, and it's the reason why anybody that's listening who has gone through the full journey of someone with dementia or Alzheimer's, you know what I'm saying, when that you have gone into the hospital with your loved one, and professional care, medical caregivers have a stigma against, or a bias against, somebody with Alzheimer's. They don't understand it. They diagnose it as something else. They diagnose what they're presenting as something. Well, I mean, I had one woman during COVID when my mom was in the hospital. The head nurse said to me, I said, can you please like put the phone up to my mom so I could talk so she can hear my voice? Honey, she doesn't talk. Well, okay, she can hear, her ears are there, and because she was intubated. And I said, please put the phone up to her so she can hear me. She must be scared to death. Like, let her know that her daughter is, that I've got
Is
her.
there?
Yeah, because I wasn't allowed in the hospital because it was COVID.
Yeah. I think And I find this a lot with the English language that we say, you are filling the blank, you are demented, you are sad, you are whatever it is. And other languages don't have that. So that stigma goes away because, as you were saying, you're not demented. You have dementia, which is very
Right.
different. You you have a disability. You're not disabled. But how we frame things in the English language, you make some part of yourself, part of your whole. So dementia becomes your whole.
Your
And
definition. Yeah. It
yeah,
defines you.
it is something that defines you for completely. And in other languages, you you you, you don't
There's more
say,
nuance.
yeah,
There's
it is.
nuance. It's nuance. It's like even like in the Chinese language, I don't know all of the different Chinese languages. Obviously, I don't speak any of it, but I do know that that there's the word love. There's like, I don't know, I'm exaggerating. There's like 20 different ways to say love, because loving, oh, I love this pizza is a lot different than I love my wife, or I love my husband, or I love my
Mhm.
child. And so there's different ways of words that define those kinds of loves. And I think, well, language is so important. It's so important. And the nuances are so important. And they do create a culture of how we view people. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Wow, we're getting super deep and it's early. Coffee time.
My goodness. So yeah, I
Whoa,
totally agree with you.
we're getting really deep and philosophical here. I know it's important though. I mean, I really am on a soapbox about that because, and can I just say, when my mom was very independent, little fireball, like entering the room and entering everywhere. And it was just like, hello world. And everybody, she could pull focus no matter where she was, not because she wanted to, just because of who she was. She was actually interested in other people, right? So, and that's a really good quality, to actually be interested and really communicate and connect. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And so when she was diagnosed, um, I, I didn't know anything about it, and so anything that manifested that was not, it was outside of the social norms that we just designed. Like, uh, if my mom's filters were gone as they were going, like children have no filter often, right? And honesty takes over. And I would protect my mom because I thought I was protecting her. I didn't want her to be embarrassed. I didn't want her to, but and at the end of the day, it turned out I was protecting myself. I didn't want to be,
Yeah.
I was embarrassed because I didn't understand it. But
And it's
right,
funny that you mention it because when you have children and they say something, or I remember this instance. At some point, my mom gave classes in kinder. I don't know, like she had very young kids. She was in a library, and very young kids, like from like 3 to 6, would go there, and she would give like some kind of class. And this time, kid comes and she tells her like, "Hey, my dad was farting and it was really stinky."
right,
So we laugh when a 3-year-old says that, but we don't laugh when someone with a dementia says something similar. And I think we
right,
need to start laughing about those things. Um, and I get it. Some things shouldn't happen. Sometimes someone with a dementia can be rude. Someone with a dementia can be hurtful. But it's not all of the
right,
time. Sometimes they just
right.
go and grab a fry from someone they don't know from the next table.
Exactly. They go, or they stick their finger in the food bar, right? They're like, "This is good," and yeah, it's so true, and it's like, and again, it doesn't define them. If I did a film, I did a film about 8 years ago, which was a short film based on a day in the life with my mom when she moved in with me. It's called My Mom and the Girl. And it stars Valerie Harper, who has since passed. She was her last film, and Valerie was on. If anyone doesn't know who she is, and maybe you don't, Isabel, do you know her?
No,
Okay, so
but I'm
Valerie
not a
Harper.
good reference for that.
Right. But Valerie Harper was on Mary Tyler Moore's show. She played her best friend Rhoda, and then they spun it off into her own show called Rhoda. And she had a very illustrious, career, and kind of was America's sweetheart, and just in a lovely, lovely, lovely human being, right? So I made this film, and I kept the humor because my mom and I used a lot of humor and music because my mom was a singer, and also the realities of it, right? So you will see in this 20-minute film really the all kind of almost every kind of major flagstone of someone with Alzheimer's, the paranoia, the moments of lucidity, the moments of I got to go home, I got to get out of here, that fright flight thing that they go through, and but at the end of the day, it really shows that it's it is a disability, and that they are there, and that they are still enjoying their life, and that it's a different life now. It's a different life, but that they are, and that they're valuable, and that they're valuable. That's the thing. And so, but it took, and that film came out of me understanding, the trope of leaning into somebody, because I was trying to, because like everybody, I'm sure when you love somebody and they get the diagnosis, you're like, oh, I got to take care of this. I got hold on, life. I got to deal. I got to cure my mom's Alzheimer's. Like, I thought I could cure it. I thought I was going to find the cure. I was going to do all the research because I'm a good researcher, and I'm going to, no one else has done it, but we'll figure this out, Mom. I got your back. And then you realize you're living in delusions of grandeur. And then you go, okay, I have been defeated. How am I going to navigate this? And so leaning into her world instead of trying to keep her in mind was the key, and loving on her and letting her live through each one of the stages that she can't help. She can't stop it. Nobody can stop it right now. Right?
Yeah. And I find this is something that you bring to the table because you approach the subject with so much compassion and kindness, but also you approach the subject with fun and just making fun of it. I don't know,
Yeah.
like this is just what happened. It is what it is, and we're going to enjoy it no matter what.
We
And
have to. What's the alternative, Isabel? Right?
we can be miserable. Doesn't that sound fantastic?
It's a joy. I love it. Well, it's like, have a miserable day. No, I mean, my mom was there's so much funny things that happen, like that I could have done a feature film. And people always said, this is like this trailer to a feature film. You need to do the rest of it, I mean, there's so many stories because my mom was a singer, and, when she was living with me, and we had my daughter's nanny became her, like, our caregiver. And so, while I was trying to work still, going through my divorce, and they would go walk all over the city because she didn't drive. The caregiver didn't drive, Yolanda. She's part of the short film I was telling you about. And she'd come home and tell me all these stories. My mom was not shy. So you can imagine on when she had Alzheimer's, she was completely not shy. And one day they're like gone for like hours and hours and hours. And I call Orlando, and she's like, oh, Orlando's from Guatemala. And goes, nosotros, we're in Starbucks with Snoop Dogg. So my mom was hanging out with Snoop Dogg because he was there getting coffee. And she started singing to him, and he's like fascinated with her. He's like, little mama, we're taking you on the road. Like, and I lived in this work live loft, and my mom would and it was like you were living in a studio because we had valet parking. And so my mom was in her glory because, she could go to each of all the lofts and like talk to everybody and everyone. I thought I was going to be that I had to protect her and us, and everyone embraced her. Everyone was like loving on her. When she didn't live with me anymore, they missed her.
Yes.
They missed her. And, it, it you lose a lot, but you also gain so much perspective, and that's why I call that year that she lived with me the best and worst year of my life because it's not easy. But what is easy? I mean, is it easy to have a brand new baby? No, you don't sleep. You have no life. They wreck your body. You become, a food machine. I mean, those are all I'm making fun of it. I love being a mommy, but I'm saying it's not easy. It's not easy.
And I think it's also what we're telling ourselves it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as you mentioned at the beginning, we have built a society in which we are very isolated. Very isolated.
Yes.
And what if we started building a community, an actual community of support and help and love? Um, as we are recording this today, today's episode of the podcast, I had Lynn Lambert talking about how she builds communities of support. And for example, she sometimes mixes a group of parents to take care of the young children. So if something were to happen to some parents, somebody else would take care of the other children. Well, we don't do that with children. We do that even less with adults. But if all
True.
the community, if all your neighborhood was pitching in to care the elder, that would be so much easier.
It's like yeah, like when my mom grew up and she had, like, I always know these stories, like she grew up in New Jersey and her mom was a working mom because which is unusual at that time, but because she had gone through a divorce when my mom was 3, and but all of my grandma's sisters and their families lived like on the block, right? So my mom would come home from school, she would go to one of her aunt's house with her cousins, and it was there was nothing. It wasn't like, hey, can you watch can you watch Norma? No, it was like that. It was expected, like it, because your family, your community, you pitch in, and I think that's so healthy. Like I feel, and I grew up in Los Angeles. I feel, and the older I get, more and more and more isolated because we're so uh, individualistic. Um, we have siloed each other. We have said, you're this generation, we're this generation, they're that generation, and and we we don't come together as a community. We don't. So we don't understand. My God, we don't understand the last third of anyone's lives. Like it's like, and nor do we want to.
Yeah. So what are things that you recommend people doing or not doing?
Well, I'm on let me just say, I'm on a mission right now because we just released a 3-part documentary called No Country for Old People. Like I mentioned, it's a nursing home expose, and it's a very honest and brutal expose of our long-term care system, which is broken, which is in a crisis, and has been for 50 years or more and more. And I wouldn't have known, except my mom entered that world. And COVID really brought it to light for a lot of us caregivers, not to the whole world. The world heard a little bit about it, but if you were there and you had anyone that you loved in long-term care, you are well aware of the crisis. There's been they're basically, the system has been raped by and taken over by corporate investment, groups, real estate investment groups, because there's a whole lot of money. There's billions of dollars to be made off of it. And to put it bluntly, we're warehousing our most vulnerable people. And most of the federal money that goes to take care of our loved ones is being tunneled out of that system into other people's pockets. They're, and everyone knows in the system, our Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, CMS, who's supposed to be providing oversight and enforcement of regulations, is not doing their job. And they're not doing their job because there's a very powerful lobby, a nursing home lobby, and that's another issue in our country, that we have lobbies that are legal, that they can go and take bags of money and, influence policymakers, influence our politicians, so that regulations are not, their regulations just become performative. They just become things to mollify the population, so that, it's so layered, but basically it's like, well, we have regulations, so then we as a society go, well, the government's taking care of it, they're okay, there's plenty of money being, they're getting good quality care, our loved ones. They're not. There's very few good places. And, one of the pushbacks I get is, well, there's a lot of good places. There's actually not a lot of good places, because I only know this from interviewing over 70 experts who've been doing this research for years and advocating for real reform. And that, there really isn't that, there's very few. They are the outliers. And the system has become corrupted. It's corrupted. It's exactly like criminal enterprise. And the corporations are veiled, they're protected by the corporate structure. And so we can't get to them. There's no transparency. And, if when there is, obvious neglect and abuse, death of our loved ones from neglect and abuse, if you try to get any retribution, if you try to take them to court, all you're going to do is, that's a whole nother story, but you're really going up against this one nursing home. But that's not the problem. It's the owners of these nursing homes that are putting down the rules, and they're cutting all their costs to make more money, which is why every single facility across the country is understaffed, because
And
that's
I
their
think,
biggest.
yeah, I think the problem is so complex that unless you do all the research, you are not aware of the whole thing.
That's why in our documentary, we tell you the whole thing. we
So
really
you don't
do.
have to do the research. Just
A
go and
hundred
see the
percent.
documentary.
You must, if you're a human being and you're living here, and you care to get older, or you care, if you want to live and get older, and
If you don't want to get
you
older.
I know, if you don't want to get older, don't watch it. But if you want to get older and you want to grow older, and you want to make sure that you understand the system that you're growing into, or if you have loved ones that are growing older, you need to watch this documentary, because I didn't know
Mhm.
anything about it. And I'm a smart person. I'm a writer. I research, I know things. I also don't want to talk about dying and getting old. La 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 la. We're not going to do that today. We put it away. But when someone you love is smack dab in the middle of it, you're forced to learn. And that's not the time to learn, because now you're
No.
in crisis and you are not going to make smart decisions. And furthermore, I don't really want anyone to have to navigate the system as it is now, because the system as it is now is practically it's impossible to navigate. It's been set up to really protect against advocates to navigate. And I was a good advocate. And, we shouldn't have to be that way. We shouldn't have to. It's like sending your child to preschool, but you've got to be there every day because you're afraid that your child's going to get abused, or they're not going to be fed, or their diaper's not going to be changed,
Yeah.
or they're not going to get their snack. You know, you shouldn't have to. This is a service. Preschool, they're licensed. Nursing homes, they're licensed. They're making money. Don't open your doors if you're not going to take care of people.
What I find really interesting about the US is the advocate part of it. You need someone advocating for you, for your health. And there's a lot of people doing business and a lot of money out of it because they're advocating and navigating the system, when in reality, it should be the system protecting people.
CMS is set up to protect people. It's supposed to protect. That's their whole mission. That's the mission of the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid. That's what they do. They have regulations that say pressure sores, bed sores are a never event. That means they should never happen. You are supposed to, as a facility, if you report a pressure sore, you are going to get fined. Except everything is self-reporting, so no one reports.
So
Okay, and yeah.
what in your research was the thing that impacted you the most?
Well, I think, kind of what I just said to you is all those things is that I realized what I didn't realize until I started doing my research. What this wall I was up against, this solid, I was banging my head against a brick wall is what I was doing, because that wall was built a very long time ago. And the nature of this system is set in stone right now. And I didn't know that. I didn't know. I assumed that people that are in, not all, I'm not stupid, but I assumed that the mass culture of our care system were good and intentions were good. But it was shocking how uninvested most of the people are that are working in that industry. And I just want to say to, if there's any nurses or frontline providers, I most of you are as much victims as the residents or the patients, because you are trying to work within a system that is not supporting you with enough bodies, enough other help, enough staff. You cannot tend to 30 people in a day, one person. You cannot. It's impossible. And they're not paying their staff enough. They're not giving them benefits. They're not training them. They're basically doing the minimal so that they can make the most. It's profit over people. It's wealth care, not health care. And that there's no other way to view it. And it will continue until we stop, until we as citizens, as a collective, say we're done. We know what's going on. And that's why I have launched a movement, a grassroots movement. This is not my lane. This is not again, I did not grow up to be an activist. I did not. This is not what I wanted to do. But we have to. We have to take it into our own hands. We see what happened this last weekend. No Kings, and these marches, these peaceful protests. They make a difference. The Me Too movement made a difference. The Disability Act made a difference. Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, MAD made a difference. DARE, all these movements are from the collective, the community, like you said. And we don't have bags of money like the lobby, but we have our vote, and that's our currency.
And I think it's important to raise awareness, because unless you are aware of it, how can you support people if you're not aware of the problem? How can you support the Me Too movement if you are a man and nobody has done anything to you?
Right.
How
It's
can
education.
how can you support elders if you've never been part of the system? And the same goes on with everything. If you don't know what people are going through in specific situations, how can you support them? And I think what your documentary does is bringing awareness to people that are not necessarily aware of it. So, anything else that you want to share with us today?
That's a lot of things I want to share. No, I mean that's really my soapbox story, for today. But I think it's so important. I just want to say to you, if anyone listening is like, please. I know it's not a fun watch, and it might make you mad. It might make you sad to watch this. It's a 3-part documentary on Amazon Prime, Tubi, and all around the world. You can get it on Fire, which is worldwide, and on banking world that's also worldwide, and hoopla. You, I really, and documentaries are not money makers; they're change makers.
Yes.
And yeah, and I've had people say, "Then why is it 4.99 on Amazon?" I don't know. That's what Amazon charges. Do you think I'm going to get the money that I put into it back? No, I'm not. I'm still putting my own money into it. So don't bug me about that. I mean, that's just commerce, okay? But the point, and if you want it for free, it's on Tubi. But the thing is that it's just important that everybody knows this information, that you don't go in and get sucker punched like I did, and you have agency. That, knowledge gives you agency. And
Yes.
right, and so it's so important. I know, and listen, I didn't want to hear about this stuff, but I'm telling you, as a friend, as a community member, watch this, not for me, for yourself, for your loved ones, for your family, and then consider speaking out and be a warrior. That's the name of our movement, is called ROAR. It's Respect, Oversight, Advocacy, and Reform for Long-Term Care. Join us, be a warrior. We need everybody to speak up and talk about it, because it is the dirty little secret. It really is. Just
Not
millions.
anymore.
Yeah. So let's talk about it, folks. I'm not lying. I have nothing to gain from it other than just sharing it. So I swear I'm an unwittingly, unwitting, what is it, monster hunter. This is what I am. I don't, if you want to put it into frame it like that, it's not something I want to do. But let's do it. What else? What could be better than to make an incredible change and not have people suffering? Because as Isabel and I are talking right now, people are
Yeah.
suffering.
Well, where can people find you? Obviously your documentaries on Amazon, on Tubi. Um, where else can people reach out to you?
I am on all the social platforms. You can find me under Susie Singer Carter or No Country for Old People. I have a profile on everywhere. No Country for Old People and Susie Singer Carter on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm not on Threads. I'm not on Blue Sky. Too many. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook. But you can find me, and YouTube, of course. And I have a podcast, and it's called Love Conquers Alls, it's almost as good as Isabel's, and we
According
talk
to
about.
the voting is better than mine, so
Oh, come on, stop. No, but it's fun. I've been doing it for 5 years, and it really was born out of my short film, because I wanted to keep the conversation going. That's all, about Alzheimer's. So that's it. And I hope, and if you do watch, please share with other people and tell people about the film, because I call it a film because it started as a film and now it's a three-parter. But yeah, tell people about No Country for Old People, and pay it forward.
well, thank you so much for coming over. This was such a joy.
It was so great to be here with you, and we'll do it again in the future.
Yeah, we need to talk more about this.
Yeah, and other things.
Definitely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.